Welcome. Jamie Hernandez here, and welcome to Soul Healing for Empathic Entrepreneurs. So today's topic is the three brains that empaths utilize in business. The three brains that empaths utilize in business. Number one, the first brain is, well, it's not in any particular order, but number one is our intellectual mind. It's our intellectual brain. It's the strategy. It's the linear. It's the black and white. It's the good, bad, right, wrong, very left type of thinking, the way we perceive the world. Number two is our emotional center, our heart center, how we feel deeply, how we actually have deep compassion for ourselves and others. That's where we can, it's a feeling center, or an emotional center. And the field of our heart can be very vast and very big. So can the mind as well. And then it is our body, the body brain. The brain that, we go with our gut. We go with this feeling, this just knowing, this just like, oh, I'm gonna turn left just because that's what I'm feeling in my body. So those are the three intelligence centers. And why is it important for empaths to understand this? Is because we have a particular operating system that is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily begin with intellectual thought. But when we are creating our business, most of us, we think that that's kind of where we perceive that's where we're going to create our business. But if you observe yourself, what happens is we get because empaths, we're often very intuitive. We often see the big picture, and we either see it, we know it, we know it in our heart, we know it in our body. We can see, like, and I gave this example last week, like imagine seeing in our mind something that we haven't created before, but it's like this masterpiece, It's like, oh, we're looking at, this art, Picasso piece, or this beautiful forest, or this beautiful mountain, and we feel it and we see it and we know it to be true. So what happens is it feels so vast and feels so big. And then we try to go to the linear mind and like, okay, how am I going to implement this big dream of mine, this vision that I know? Because most empathic entrepreneurs here on earth, they are tuning into their mission, their calling. What are they here to do here on earth? And so that calling, because it is so true to their heart, and it is so felt so deeply, it can feel very overwhelming, because literally the electrical magnetic field of your heart is huge, and that frequency is very high. And the vastness of our mind, and here's the thing, the way empaths usually experience the mind is it doesn't come from a linear kind of download. It comes from a very circular, wide and vast, like many ideas downloading at the same time. Let me know in the comments if that's true for you, where sometimes you'll have these downloads and it will be a lot of different ideas at the same time, especially when your body is in alignment, when your heart feels open and your mind feels clear. The downloads of what to do and where to go come very quickly. So let me know in the comments if that's true for you. And so because the field of your mind and the field of your electrical magnetic field of your heart is so vast and so big, it can feel overwhelming, especially when it is in imbalance, when the mind, body, and energy, or the mind, the body, and emotions are in balance. Meaning to say, our perception can oftentimes we can perceive outside of ourselves, and we can start to say, oh, okay, well, that's that, like, very linear way of thinking is how we do business. And so we perceive that, not understanding that actually we, as empaths, first don't perceive things from that linear point of view. And so what's important is that if we understand the order of, okay, we get, that vastness, the vastness of the mind, the creative downloads, then we can utilize the brains in that order. Okay, so that there's where it is. And then, okay, what is my next most obvious action? And here's the thing, when you have a creative download that has like 100 ideas all at once, sometimes it's hard to know where to start. It's like, oh, okay, there's so many things I need to do, and there's this big, Picasso that I need to make. Oh, and then the other thing, that if the physical body is not grounded and balanced, where our nervous system feels regulated and we feel strong and stable to execute, it can kind of shut down the nervous system, because the nervous system is now becoming overloaded with information. And that information doesn't just go in the mind, it goes in our emotions, and we feel it, we have a certain emotional experience about it, and we also have a physical experience. And what's really interesting is that, if you were to work with me, we start to discover, like, everyone had an experience or a traumatic experience that pushed all of these three brains, or these, or we can call it these intelligence centers, out of alignment. So very often when we are young children, we use our bodies, right? We live in the body, and we don't necessarily, what's the word? We don't adjust what the body is feeling based on the external world. Like, we don't necessarily just always sit up straight. Like, we kind of jump around, and we dance around and we move. If you see any child, right? I saw a child the other day, and he was just like beside his mom, and he was like galloping like a horse, And it was after school, and it's like his body knew, okay, I just need to kind of like, work it out now that I've kind of utilized my mental perception brain all day long at school. And, and his body was just feeling like that playfulness and that silliness. And so as we, sometimes what happens is when we utilize the body that way, or also we utilize the heart in a way that is very pure and innocent. So, I guess if I were to think of an example in my life, I was always told, like, I was very sensitive. So if I would cry because my brother would call me names or things like that, if I would cry, my dad would kind of get mad at me for being too sensitive. So here it was, that was my emotional center. And then all of a sudden, I'm being taught that natural reaction is actually wrong. Or if you're moving around a lot and you're all silly, and then after your parents are like, stop that, like, stop moving around, sit still, behave, that kind of thing, Or even in school, that's how we're taught, right? It's like, just sit down, sit straight, look forward, don't move, right? And look down, right with your right hand. And so then the body kind of starts to kind of contract and conform into this, the message, like, okay, this is the right way. And so then the mind starts to perceive the meaning of, okay, when I act from my pure heart, or when I move with my pure body, it's wrong. So when we're younger, obviously the people who are taking care of us, we want to make sure that we please them, because we want their love, we want their attention, we want their affection, and we want them to literally take care of us. Because when you're younger, you can't say, oh, well, I'm going out and getting a job and I'm going to feed myself. Like, you can't do that when you are a baby, or when you're 3, or when you're, younger, right? So you learn how to conform and adjust and constrict, right? And this is the story for all human beings. So it's not like, any of us are exempt from this experience. And this is the point I want to make, number two, because so we talked about the imbalances that can happen. And so what starts to happen, especially if you're anything like my clients who are on a healing path, who are on a journey, who have always been interested in healing modalities, we get on that path and we start to see results. We're like, whoa, and we start to do different modalities and experience a relief from the thing that we maybe couldn't pinpoint what exactly it was, because it happened so young that that we're searching. So I have a client, and I'm not going to expose her name, but when she was younger, she had her boundaries crossed with sexual abuse, and she was very, very, very young, and so the message she was getting was, you're not worthy of my respect. But the thing is, her mind couldn't. And here's the thing, if you guys have something that you're like, there's something that I'm searching for, there's something in my healing journey that I cannot place my finger on, but I know in my gut, I know in my heart something is in balance, it is often because something, when you were so young, that the mental perception couldn't even create a meaning, because we didn't have that faculty yet. We didn't have the faculty of like that intellectual thought yet. And so only by doing the deep work, you start to realize, she started to realize, okay, you are not worthy of my respect. But those words didn't even come to her until she started doing the deep work that I do with our clients in the body, in the mind, in our emotional energy center. So that's something to look out for if you're an empath and you're an entrepreneur, and you want to move to the next level, or you want to implement something or offer something or show up a little bit differently, but something is kind of holding you back. It's that it is often some core wound that our mental body has not been able to make sense of. And then the sense that we make of when we're older, and this is what I see so much in the healing field, is something's wrong with me. So I need to spend my whole life healing. And if I keep on feeling that feeling in my body, in my heart, in my emotions, then something must be wrong. And here is the big breakthrough I want you guys to really understand. When you see your mentors, or when you see people who are like you, empathic, and they're doing their healing work and their coaching and their mentoring and all this stuff, and they're doing it with and executing it with centeredness and peace and joy and clarity and courage, it is not because they're done with healing and they don't feel overwhelmed. They don't feel that big, huge magnetic heart that is so true to them deep in their heart. That they feel so deeply and so compassionate about what they're doing in the world, the healing that they're offering in the world. It is not that they don't feel that. And here's the thing. It is because they are able to regulate their mind, their body, and their energy and their emotional center in real time. This is key, guys. Okay? So this is where we misdiagnose our own healing journey as empathic entrepreneurs. We think we're not like that guru that is so sage and so wise, and like that mentor that is just got all of their stuff together, or that person that you see that is executing in a way that you're like, wow. It is not because they figured it out and all of a sudden they're done with their healing journey. Hi, right? It is because in real time, when they execute and when they're offering their gift to the world, when they're implementing their business strategy, they have learned how to regulate their system, their body, mind, and energy and emotions while it's happening. So I'll give you an example. I do dance, and there's like a choreography thing that you can do, and you can present to an audience. And for most people, that's like, whoa, that like even before that is even even before that's even a choice, like already the mind's like, no way, no way, I'm gonna screw that up. I'm not gonna do that. But what happens for empathic people who will still feel the overwhelm, will still feel the fear, will still feel like, holy shit, everyone's going to laugh at me, will still feel like I'm going to fuck this up, will still feel all of that. And again, those deeper rooted wounds that I talked about, the you're not worthy of my respect, those wounds that get embedded in the body, mind, and energy will still come, and they are able to regulate as it's happening. So they're still going to stand in front of everybody, do their dance, feel nervous as hell, and learn how to regulate and know how to regulate, right? How do we do that? How do we do that? It is not a special gift. It is not like, oh, somebody just knows. It's just much more wise than I am. It is because that person that you see that is showing up in the world from that centered, clear place is consistently and congruently taking their own medicine. It is not like this magic pill that you go and you do this thing and then all of a sudden, poof, you're healed and now you can kind of function in the world like everybody else. No, it is, I have a mentor, a really great mentor of mine, and she's been training us in dance as medicine, and a very close person to her passed during the training, like literally the day, 2 days before she needed to teach us. And you think in that moment, it would be very normal to cancel because you're going through grief, it's overwhelming, all of these things, this sadness. And she told us, I have been for the last 3 days, 24/7, taking the medicine, practicing. So when she came to us, she didn't come to us just because she was just so amazing and so sage that she can just show up like that and be kind of in that vulnerable space after something very traumatic and dramatic has happened to her. She practiced the practice in real time. So those of empathic beings who are functioning in the world from a very centered, very grounded, very peaceful place is because they're practicing on a regular, because that's how our operating system works, so the antidote is this. The way it works is we get these downloads, right? We get these downloads. And the mind has to be clear enough so that download can enter. Then it hits the heart, because it's sort of like your soul saying, okay, go there, do this, and it's never logical, okay? The calling on your heart is never logical, because the soul is here to experience, period. It is not here to experience bliss or pain or whatever. It's here to experience it. And here, the experience of life is painful and beautiful simultaneously. That's it, And the linear brain will I always want to just be blissful. Well, no. I don't want to feel pain, and it will go back and forth, trying to solve a problem that can never really be solved, because the truth is our life as human beings, because we feel so deeply, because we have a body, because there's a beginning and an end to everything here on earth, is painful and beautiful at the same time. And so if we can regulate those very huge feelings of deep pain and grief and deep joy, that's where the balance comes. So I was explaining, so it comes from the soul, and it kind of brings you, it comes down, right? And we have free will here, so we have choice. It's not like whatever the soul says we have to do, but our soul kind of decides that, oh, there's a certain experience here. Anyway, this is my take, and what it's not you don't have to align with this, but essentially the soul gives us a message of like, okay, well, we are planning to experience something down here. So here, go do this and go do that, so we can align with that experience. And then the heart feels it and knows it to be true. And it feels so vast and so big. And that energy and that frequency is it's a high vibration. And if we haven't learned how to integrate that vibration into the body, and this is the last center, so I talked about the mind, the heart, and then the physical body. If we haven't been able to integrate that frequency in the body, then we short circuit. And here's the thing, there's two things happening. That truth and that compassion, that truth that you know to be true, and the deeper wound that we're not even sometimes even cognizant of, because it happened so young. Like my client who the message was, you're not worthy of my respect, because her boundaries as a very, very young child were broken through sexual trauma, right? And so the physical body, every time it went out to kind of do what it needed to do or wanted to do, or be in this life, there would always be this mental perception and almost this unconscious veil of consciousness perceiving the world of, I am not worthy of your respect. And so then we start to, and this is kind of what happens with everybody, we'll start to act from that place that doesn't feel, and we start to, the lens of our perception, it's like these glasses that you wear that you can, that's how you see the whole entire world and all the people around it, and you don't realize that you're actually wearing these lenses of perception, that I'm not worthy of your respect. The other ones are, I don't belong, I am not perfect, I am not significant, I am not capable, and I am not worthy, and I'm not enough. It is one of those messages when we were younger. It's like the soul chooses one of them. Okay, I'm gonna experience that one, right? And then gives us an experience to experience it, because that's what the soul wants. It wants an experience. And then, okay, now can we find ourselves through this experience? Can we find our true self through this experience? And so we go through this life, we come in this as a pure being, acting from our heart, acting with our body, acting with, whatever comes out of our mouth, these natural, like beautiful, honest things that come out of our mouth. We get somewhere along the line taught like, oh, that's not safe to be you. And then we kind of get, let's say, we hide in the illusion of being human. And then we find ourselves. It's actually what, in yoga, what they call the dance of Leela. God hides itself in itself to find itself again. That's actually the game it's playing. As a human, we don't feel like it's a game. We're like, God, this sucks. This is hard. This is like painful. This is like torturous. But as a soul, it's like, oh, great, yes. Because what happens when we experience this as a soul is there's evolution. There's a deeper consciousness of understanding that evolves the world as a whole. When we can truly feel deep pain and allow that to be the chalice for deep beauty, we wake up again. And we wake up again and we're like, oh, wow. And we feel that physically in the body, in the heart, and the mind. Because here's the thing, we can know these concepts. We can know life is painful and we can know life is beautiful. But if it's just a perception, or if it's just something you read, or if it's just something like, ooh, this really amazing guru talks to you about, it's not going to be fully embodied. It's like your mind is trying to convince the body how beautiful life is. But if we have not fully felt pain and went towards it instead of away from it or resisted or all the things that we do, right, are not even conscious of it, we're never fully going to feel that deep pain and how beautiful that contrast creates our level of experience of how beautiful things are. And that's kind of what this earth is teaching us through contrast. Because if we were always just in beauty and always just in bliss, we actually wouldn't know there's anything else. So when you contrast it with this, whoa, all of a sudden like deep pain, it's like, oh, we start to know, oh, okay, that's what beauty is. So the antidote is having a consistent practice that allows an empathic person, which to me is somebody who feels everything and merges actually with their environment. And that's another thing I teach our clients. It's like it's a beautiful thing to be able to merge with your clients, or to merge with the beauty of life, to merge with the pain. But it's important also to know what the difference is between your frame, your energetic frame and body, and somebody else's. Otherwise, we mistakenly take on other people's energy and perception and mind, because we can feel the other person in real time. So we have to understand and discern what is mine and what is theirs, so that we don't necessarily act from somebody else's perception. So I think that's why when we're younger and somebody from a very emotional place puts something in our body and something in our mind and something in our energy, we will take it as truth, because it, when you feel something, it's kind of like I always say, like, when you go to the coffee shop or the grocery store and the person on the other side is kind of being snarky, and you like, then all of a sudden you feel their like irritability, and all of a sudden you're irritable and you're like, oh, they were so rude, blah blah blah. In that moment, it's like we merge with that person, and then because it felt so convincing, because we're feeling all of their emotions, all of a sudden we take it on like it's ours. And of course, part of it is ours, because what's in someone else's is something that's unprocessed in you is going to show up in other people. And if you take it on in a way that you're not able to discern and watch it happen, then it is also part of you. But in the moment that what we call like a trigger, it triggers us. We get confused, and all of a sudden, like we're back into that trigger in real time, because in real time we're feeling it in the body. So the antidote is to be able to take this soul's message, hear it with clarity, let it hit the heart, feel the big frequency of the heart, and take all of that energy and funnel it down into the body. So that when we feel those big emotions, and when we have these old core perceptions and old core wounds, we can move with it, literally. We literally can move somatically with it. So that's the container that I offer for our clients, where it's like, what I always say is like, you need to pair your practice and your implementation very close together. Because if you do your practice and then all of a sudden you go out into the world, you do the mundane, and then you sit in front of your computer and try to work on your business, 9 times out of 10 you're going to feel overwhelmed, and oftentimes then all of a sudden the body's feeling overwhelmed, and then you're underneath your covers because everything is there's too many things being too much download, too much information that you're receiving, too much frequency of the heart, and then the old patterning all coming up all at the same time. And then you perceive it as, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I'm just like, I don't know how to do business. That's the misdiagnosis. When really, if you're consistent and congruent and you practice pairing, like for example, if I need to do like this, if I'm here and I need to kind of talk to you guys in a very linear, like there's a lot of thoughts on this topic, and I have to kind of take all those thoughts, write them down. That's step number one. You write them down, because we as empaths get these little intuitive hits, and we're so used to them that they just kind of merge with everything else, like our to-do list and sometimes we'll get these little like, ooh, go do this, ooh, go do that, go try that, talk to this person. And sometimes because there's so much information, we don't necessarily take the time to like bring it out of the ether and into the 3D world by just simply writing it down. And that writing it down creates a linear process for somebody to now, okay, take that linear and then now, okay, now execute each line by line, and at the same time trust that life, even in the moment, will still give you the answer. So it's like I do have a linear script, but I never really follow it to the T, because my mind doesn't think that way. As an empath, it's like, it's very big. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. I'm seeing like many different pictures at the same time, and then I'm trying to explain it to you, right? So it's this being grounded enough in the body to trust that the downloads that are coming in real time will come out of my mouth in a way that is that makes sense, and that will hit somebody's center in their brain, in their heart, in their body. Because empaths, they when you speak to them, there's a knowing. They're like, oh, that might not make logical sense, but I know that to be true in my body. And it's this practice of, that's where you get the certainty. When you start to listen to the soul, allow it to disseminate in a way where it's like, okay, now I can kind of take that creativity and take the second brushstroke and put it, it's like you have this big painting and you have these different colors and brushstrokes, and put it sort of in a linear fashion, and then have my body and my nervous system grounded enough to implement. Then I can act on my next most obvious action. And that's what I teach our clients. What is your next most obvious action? What is your next most profitable action, energetically and financially? Because, as I said, when empaths have all of these ideas and all of this kind of literally brainstorm, and they don't know which thought to kind of go with, the way we function is actually, we just like, what is the next most obvious action, and just do that. My husband, on the other hand, he's very linear. So what he'll want to do is like, let me do the spreadsheet, let me lay it out, let me look at the 5-year plan. And for an empath, it's like, whoa, 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 like we're feeling all of that. So we just need to know, what's the next most obvious action? Hello, Mike. Hello, Rose. Hello, Frankie. Right? We need to know what's the next most obvious action, because that's what our nervous system can handle. And that's what actually is more effective, because we can just take that, because we're such vast, wide, open thinkers, we can take that one element of what needs to be done, the next most obvious action, and expand on that. And be in the flow of that and execute from that place, and it again, and work with our intuition in our life, and it kind of naturally comes as we execute. And so I talk about this a lot. Sometimes what happens is we make the mistake of continually thinking, like if we're continuing to feel the feelings that we're feeling, and we get overwhelmed, or we have those thoughts of like, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not capable. We think, okay, well, let me just do more healing. Let me do more healing, and then I'll come back to this. When really the healing and the execution actually have to be consistent and congruent on a regular basis, and pairing it, the execution of our business, very close to the execution time. Does that make sense? So it's like before this talk, I had to get in my body. I had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't be grounded and centered to be able to deliver all these like downloads that are happening in real time as I'm talking. I'll have like the linear kind of script, and then all this other stuff starts to come to me. So I have to also know that that's how I function. And then like, whoop, bring it back, right? Land the plane. So let me know if any of this is making sense, if anything resonates. And for some reason, I can't see the thing in real time, which is very annoying. So I'm going to have to come back and hear your insight. But so let's recap, okay? The three brains that empaths utilize is the mental perception, the heart and emotional, and the body. And the reason why it's important to understand our operating system is that if we try to execute purely from the intellect, it's too overwhelming because we download information all at once, and it's in a big picture, and there's so our mind is vast, and we feel it deeply to be true in our heart. And so that frequency is very high. And if we don't get grounded and we don't take that energy and utilize it and put it in the body, meaning to say literally move it in the body, literally from a somatic perspective, then the systems get short circuit. There's too much information. The heart and the emotions are feeling too much, and the body is not regulated enough to just stand centered and execute from clarity in the mind. And so I always talk about we need to get grounded in the body. We need to learn how to process emotion. We need to get clear in the mind, and we need to learn how to master our energy. And when we can do that, then when we execute things in our life, in our business, it comes from a place of centeredness and clarity and peace, and from a place of being able to, this is the big key that I want to tell you guys that I've been mentioning, the big key of being able to regulate in real time. I use that example of like, okay, let's say whatever you're performing, right? Maybe you're doing a speech, maybe you're doing a dance. You are still going to feel nervous. You're still going to feel your big heart that is so connected to your mission and to your passion and whatever it is. You're still going to feel all those many different thoughts and all of this different like parts of you that, oh my God, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 right? You're still going to feel all of it. But somebody who has mastered the body, mind, and energy can stay centered and grounded in the body, feel deeply what the heart feels, all the emotions, and understand that the two perceptions in your mind, the perception that is that harsh critique, and then the wise sage that is also there that knows, you got this, you're beautiful, it's all good, is in balance. Then in real time, when something is dear to your heart and you need to execute, you will. Nerves and all, mental chatter and all, heart and emotion and all. So I think that's a big lesson for empathic people and entrepreneurs, is to know it is a consistent and congruent practice that cannot be intellectualized, and it cannot be remembered by a memory, And I gave that example of my teacher somebody very close to her passed during our training, and she still showed up because, she meant, like in her words, 24/7, I've been taking my own medicine, taking this medicine so that, and was still able to show up with her pain, her deep pain. And when I talk about, I mentioned, life is deeply painful and deeply beautiful. And the frequency of one, being able to feel our pain fully, because it takes more energy to try not to feel it. It takes more energy and resistance and overwhelm to then just feel it fully and then allow the nervous system to regulate around that feeling. And then the frequency of our heart and the frequency of beauty carries us. So we can't just only be in the depths and the deep dark all the time. It's too heavy. We need the lightness of beauty in life to like, God, life is beautiful. And that frequency, when it's embodied in the body, when something is painful or when we have a misperception, let's say somebody insults us or something like that, we're able to hold it in with clarity. Because one, we know it's not even ours. And two, we've learned how the mind can sometimes perceive with certain glasses on and not even realize due to deep wounds. Right? Like my client who, because she had sexual trauma, the wound was, you're not worthy of my respect. And so her perception glasses were on, and that's how she perceived the world. So when we can take the glasses off and observe that the mind will sometimes make meaning that is not necessarily true in the moment in our real time life, and the body is feeling what it's feeling, but we allow it to feel what it's feeling, it starts to allow us to process. Because all of these things are here as opportunities for us to process and to remember who we are at our core. And at our core, we are infinite beings that will never die. So all of this experience that we're experiencing, bad, good, ugly, whatever, it is not permanent. And so if we know as a soul, as a spirit, as God, or whatever you want to call it, never dies, then we can also move forth. And again, not just in a concept, in an actual embodiment. When we continue to allow those downloads to get imbued in our cells and our nervous system and our tissues and our body, we can hold life from that very precious and beautiful place. And what emerges from that is deep joy, because we understand the preciousness of moments that will never come again. And we understand when we are in joy to fully be there, and when we're in pain to fully be there. Because if you're always if you're not fully feeling either or, you're sort of going to be in this neutral place, and you're going to be in this kind of like mental place of concept that you can't fully feel. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope understanding the three brains of an empath and how you utilize it in your life or in your business is helpful, because now then you can understand your operating system. And this is the container that I offer our clients, a container that we can somatically ground in the body. We can continually process all of the unconscious emotions that come up. We can stay true to the heart and execute based on what's true for us. And we don't let the bigness and the vastness of our calling here on earth overwhelm us. And we can get clear in the mind so that when the downloads come of what to do in our life, we can hear it fully and clearly and make a choice. We make a choice in our body and our hearts of what to do. And then practice taking all of that energy and mastering that energy so that we're not going this up and down, right? Because empaths, they feel everything, so they can have a high of a high, or they can have a really low of a low. And it's important to be able to ride those waves, right, as an empath. Otherwise, we get taken out. Yeah. So if any of this interests you and you want to work more deeply on these things so that you can manifest the life of your dreams, the business of your dreams, the life of your dreams, in your relationship, in your health, and whatever it is that you see yourself being called, the calling that you have on your heart. And you're kind of feeling this push-pull. You're feeling this, this tug of war between your body and your heart and your mind, and they're not in alignment. Then DM me and let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call, because we're actually going right on the free call. We're going to go into it. We're going to go into where has this imprint, this unconscious imprint in the body. Where is it? What is it like? And shift that. What's the mental perception that is kind of misperceiving the world? What is that? And where is the energy stuck and stagnant? Where is that? That's the first thing, because then that's the domino effect to continuing to execute in your life and your business in a way that is sustainable, and you thrive. You're not just surviving, right? And you learn how to work with survival mode, because we all experience survival mode, but you do it in a way that you can thrive. And what's so important is that we have that sacred container, and we have that consistent and congruent practice. And when the SHIT hits the fan, we have somebody who can see the illusion of what the body, mind, and energy are projecting, because that's what it is. When you feel like you can't do something, it's because there is a misperception in the body, mind, and energy to what is actually happening in reality. Because you're safe, When you perform, or when you execute your life, you're safe. And so we have to teach the body, mind, and energy that. And we're safe, meaning to say we're safe because we can feel what we feel. We can hear what we hear without getting moved. We can execute without having the body get sick or overwhelmed or stressed. Or we can feel all those feelings and still be okay. Right? The other thing that I'm doing is a 3-day somatic pathway, 3 days to setting and achieving your goals. That's happening January 15th at 3 o'clock. 15, 16, and 17 is 3 days. And so if you want the link to that, it's free. And we're going to kind of have a revision of 2022 so that we know where we were and where we're going. We're going to have a second day, a somatic practice, so that we can understand, like, where are we stuck and how can we move through that? And then what's the plan, right? So let me know if you want that link. And otherwise, you can DM me, let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And on that call, I'm going to send you an application, and we're going to deeply look at where you're stuck and how to move forward. So that is it for me. I hope this was helpful. Let me know your biggest takeaways, your biggest insights, and I will promise to come back and answer all of your questions and comments. So I'll see you. Next week, there's 2 weeks that I'm going to be off. I'm probably going to come in, maybe just do a meditation, or I might just be off, enjoying my off time. So I haven't decided yet. We'll see. So I will see you definitely in 2024. Have a happy holiday. Enjoy, and we will speak soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you for your presence.